Okay, welcome Capricorn. We are doing your February 2026 horoscope reading. Let's see what we have for Capricorn. Capricorn, February 2026. What do I got for you guys? I feel like you've been doing pretty good, Capricorn, I would say over the last month or so. I think that things were flowing for you pretty well. You're kind of on track. The universe was working with you. I don't know if there were some lessons or some challenges you recently went through, I would say over the last 2 to 3 weeks. And I think you guys have succeeded and come out on the other side of that, which is really good and great. And, um, I see that energy, kind of carrying in with you, the tail end of January into February where you're kind of, riding that high of like, you know what? I did that. I did that. I really came through. And whether you showed up for yourself or you showed up for someone else, I feel like you're pretty proud of that. But on the other hand, I feel like there are some people here that aren't riding that high enough, or they're not in that spot of kind of recognizing your hard work or recognizing the things that you've been doing, and, the trials you've kind of been through and how you've overcome them and you're on the other side of things. And I think that you guys are kind of dismissing it a little bit. You're kind of chalking up your hard work to like outside factors or other people or other things. And that's not really the case. You guys did that. You did that hard work. You went through and you pulled yourself out of whatever it is that you were in and onto the other side. And I think that you kind of need to give yourself a little bit more credit than that. Also, too, I think, giving the universe a little bit more credit for, their part in it also because I feel like, you've been kind of like really guided by spirit and guided by the universe to navigate these times and these challenges to where, they really helped you, kind of like almost held your hand in a sense, which they usually, the universe there and they shows up and they're pretty helpful. But I feel like for you guys, they were pretty hands on and that's not typical. That's not, usually how things go. Usually they'll kind of like guide you, lead you, give you your tools and examples like what it is that you need to be doing, but there's no hand holding going on. They're not walking you down the path. But I feel like here they kind of did that for you in a way. And I think that we're kind of lacking in our recognition of that, the recognition of you and what you've done and, the universe and how they've done it. And I feel like we're not really giving thanks where thanks is owed. And that's something that we should be paying attention to is, um, and I don't think that you guys are necessarily done thinking on these things or done, because whatever it is that you went through was pretty big and pretty impactful. Um, and whether, you thought so at the time or not, I think it definitely was something that affected you. And it's something that you guys often go back and revisit, when you're thinking and you're kind of mulling things over. And when we do that next time and we go through this thought process of, again, revisiting all these things, I think it's important that you kind of stop and take a moment to show some recognition and again to show some gratitude for whatever it is that happened or whatever it is that you went through and, how you handled it and how, spirit helped you and they led you and they guided you on that path for you to be able to move forward. Um, Whatever it was that you went through, it seems pretty tough, definitely heavy, and we wanna also make sure that, while we're recognizing that and appreciating it, we're also cleansing out negative energy or cleansing out, things that are not really, like, higher vibrational or, like, as good as, they should be for us. So, I think that that's something too that you guys definitely need to kinda be focusing on this month of February is really, um, I think cleansing things, kind of warding off, you know, I don't wanna say warding off future negativity, but, if we kinda sit and stew in, negative energy, I think it can kind of fester and it can get a little, bigger and stronger, and we wanna make sure that we're keeping up with our spiritual maintenance also and our energetic maintenance and making sure that you're cleansing out, yourself and your house and your environment and other things after you deal with something, similar to what you went through. Again, whatever it is that you went through, it was pretty heavy. Okay. It felt pretty heavy, pretty toxic. It was a lot. And I think that um, that was probably a big reason as to why spirit was there and why, the universe was so heavily guiding you, because it was a lot to take on by yourself. And sometimes we need other things to step in, whether it's like your angels, your protector guide, they kind of need to step in and help a little bit. And I think that this was that situation. But there's some work still that you kind of have to do after it. Like, even though the situation's done and resolved, we have that residual energy that can still linger. And I don't know. I think this has to do with like a specific person in your life, like whether this was like a family member, a relationship, even maybe a coworker. Feels not really that, but whoever this really, really negative person and negative relationship was, you moved on. You got him out. You're like, okay, enough's enough. I'm sweeping it out. I'm clearing house. You're done. We wrapped it up. But that energy still lingers. Okay. So we got to clear it. We got to cleanse it. We got to get rid of it. And I think for February for you guys, that's something to focus on and to make sure that you're doing is you're upkeeping, your cleaning and those habits of making sure that your energy is cleansed and you're coming from a higher vibration and there really isn't that lower negativity or vibration left in your house. So whether you guys need to sage something or you have like some cleansing exercise that you can do. I feel like maybe even some crystals, but be wary about the crystals. I think clear quartz is a really good crystal that cleanses negativity and bad energy. So, um, prioritize that this month. It's kind of like look at it as like spring cleaning. Okay. You're doing spring cleaning not only in your home, but for yourself and for your energy and for your vibrations. And you want to make sure that, you're out with the old and with the new. And I think there's a full moon coming up shortly in February also. So that's something that you kind of want to, I think that you can really kind of use that energy and play off of that also to take it and clear stuff out. And the full moon too. Their energy, like, if you can't get it done on the full moon, don't stress, don't worry. That I think that I've noticed that energy still carries over, into the couple days after the full moon, even a couple days before. I definitely notice it heavily after we experience a full moon. So, kind of that the moon is good to cleanse things, and to recharge also. So focus on that this month and make sure that you're warding off negativity. You don't want it to sit there, you don't want it to fester, and you guys can feel it too. You can feel it, like there's just like a heaviness in the air. So we want to make sure that we're sweeping that out, we're cleansing it and getting rid of that. And I wish you guys good luck for the month.